Americans. Since I was first elected back in 1998, I've been the only member of the Virginia General Assembly who shed his blood for the nation of the Republic of Vietnam. Years ago, some of you will remember that we had a piece of legislation that allowed the Vietnamese to fly the flag of free Vietnam when they met at the government center here. And I noticed a number of ladies here who have the dresses with the national flag, and I'm pleased to see that. This year, we got together with a number of people. My friend Tin Phan and my Lantron, and also Vic Nguyen. We gathered together a group of Vietnamese who had served during the very difficult times in Vietnam, during the Vietnam War. And these were senior people, military officers, police officials. And I called them together because I felt that after so many years, we have never yet recorded officially the truth of what happened in Vietnam. And I wanted to be sure that we recorded that truth so that there would be an official document that would be undeniable, that could go throughout Virginia, throughout the United States, and throughout the world to the Vietnamese community. So that, of course, Vietnamese tell their children and their grandchildren what happened, but then the schools teach them something else. They say, oh, well, you know, the Vietnamese, they didn't fight very hard, or they, their government was not very good, and so forth. We know the truth. And so I sat down with the group of a dozen military veterans, and I said, I want to create a historical document that will be officially approved by the Virginia General Assembly. And that's what we set about doing. I will share with you, I was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. I flew 269 combat missions out of Chu Lai into the Hip Duc Valley, the Tin Phuc Valley, up to Da Nang, beyond Dong Ha, Hue City, many places throughout Vietnam. I flew out to the Laotian border, where we had teams all along the border watching the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And one of the things I was able to do, there was this very small village right outside of the airfield. And I would go there to a small shop. And there was a girl there. Her name was Ann Mai. And she wasn't a girlfriend, but she was a friend. She was a dear friend of mine. And I would go and I would visit her little shop. And she sold soft drinks and little trinkets. And I would go and I would buy a few things from her. And we would just sit and we would talk. She spoke some English. And then I got my orders to go and fight with the 1st Marine Division south of Da Nang, to fight in the jungles and to control the jets that drop bombs and to bring in helicopters to evacuate casualties. I was a forward air controller at that point. And I told her about that. I said, I have to go. And it was a very sad day for us because we had become good friends. And she walked me back to the barbed wire that surrounded Chu Lai. When I last saw her, she looked into my eyes and she said, you go, I die. In 1975, Saigon fell. And when it fell, I had nightmares. And my nightmares were about Mai and about all of the people that I had known in Vietnam, the soldiers I had fought with in the jungles, the soldiers I had evacuated by helicopter when they were wounded and when they were killed. And I was always troubled that throughout this, no one looked back. No one looked back to say, how did the Vietnamese soldiers fight? Were they cowards? Were they heroes? What happened when Saigon fell? What happened to the country when it fell? Did they have a people's paradise? You remember Ho Chi Minh said, when Saigon falls, we will have a people's paradise. So we set about recording the truth. And we did this, and I want to point out Mark King, my friend here who worked with me in the House of Delegates. Mark has a Vietnamese connection. He's Korean, but he spent several years because his father was a missionary in Vietnam. And I want to thank him for helping me on the House side, because this was a joint resolution that was passed by both the Senate and by the House. This was a very unusual resolution because it was really a miracle that it passed. We pass many resolutions, but we do not pass resolutions that record history. And many times they kept redrafting. I said, no, I don't want that. I want to tell the truth. And so what we finally did, and we will present this at a later time, but we recorded the history in about a page and a half, a summary. And in it we talked about the fact that although America made enormous sacrifices in the Vietnam War, there were 224,000 Vietnamese who were killed. The Vietnamese people rose up. They fought against the Viet Cong in the 1968 Tet Offensive, and they smashed the Viet Cong, who became ineffective for the rest of the war. In 1972, when the Americans had begun to pull out, they fought the Easter Offensive with great gallantry, with heroism, and they defeated the North Vietnamese. Sadly, in 1974, the United States cut off the supplies of ammunition. It was not that the Vietnamese had not fought gallantly, because I have fought together side by side with them. It was because they had nothing to fight with, and even the bravest soldier cannot fight like that. We talked also about the fact that a reign of terror was imposed on the country. And in that reign of terror, 2 million South Vietnamese fled into the vast expanses of the South China Sea. Many of them were drowned in doing that. And over 1 million officials and officers and enlisted men were thrown into concentration camps where perhaps 1/3 of all of them died in that cruel imprisonment. We then went on and we talked about the South Vietnamese today and how successful they have been in America. 82% of Vietnamese are citizens, which is one of the highest of all groups of immigrants to this country. And so we praise them and we recognize their service. And I would just like to express my very deep thanks to many people who helped us with this. We have Tin Phan, we have Vic Nguyen, we have Mai Lan Tran, who all worked together, and then of course Delegate Kim and Senator Toddy Puller, who really was probably a linchpin in making this work at a time when there were people who were trying to block it. It's my hope that this resolution will find its way to people who served and who fought, so that they will know that in the state of Virginia, we recognize their gallantry, their sacrifice, their suffering, and it will not be forgotten. So I thank you very much for the opportunity.